Hi there. Today we'll be talking about automated testing tool called Selenium. There's a lot of buzz in the industry about this new tool. The reason being it's an open source, and a lot of big companies like Google had invested their resources into making this tool a little better. And because of the fact that this tool is an open source, there's no license fee involved. We have seen it's gaining momentum in the industry. So we thought of giving a brief presentation on this tool. We are TrainingRite.com. We do training in different areas, like we do QA automated tools. We cover Quality Center from HP as well as QTP. And lately we have started training in Selenium. We have also been doing .NET development training, basically ASP.NET, WPF, WCF, Link, Silverlight. Apart from that, we also do training on Microsoft SharePoint 2010 development. If you need to contact us, you could call us at 732-998-6650. All right, let's begin talking about Selenium. Selenium is a automated software testing tool, and you could download it from seleniumhq.org. Basically, there are many versions of Selenium. There's something called Selenium IDE. There's something called Selenium RC Server, Remote Control Server. It's formerly RC Server. Today it is called Selenium Server. And the most latest and the newest version is the WebDriver. It's 2.x version. The idea behind using these three different versions of Selenium is depending on what kind of application you're testing. If it is a small application which does not require you to write scripts using any programming language, then the Selenium IDE would work for you. Basically, it's a record and play tool. Apart from that, you could also do things like parameterization of data and stuff like that in Selenium IDE. The unfortunate part, the drawback of that is it is only capable of testing applications which are on Firefox browser. Let's say if you're running in your application on Internet Explorer or Google Chrome or Apple Safari, the IDE would not be able to help you test on those browsers. So that's the reason we move on to something called an RC server. Again, RC server is an older name. It's a former name. Today it is called as Selenium server. Basically, using Selenium server, you could be using different programming languages to test your application. If you have expertise in Java, then you could be using Java code, writing scripts in Java, which would go and then test your application, irrespective of what technology that application was built on. The different programming languages which are supported are C#, .NET, Java, Perl, Python, Ruby on Rails, the most prominent being Java. So that's the remote control or the RC server. The latest of all is the WebDriver. And the WebDriver, again, supports multiple languages. The idea behind using these different versions, again, is it's an open platform. It's an open source. You are not restricted to running it only in one particular environment. You could be writing your script in any language, and then you could be deploying it on any operating server, and then it's just going to work fine. There are a lot of moving parts to this Selenium thing. Apart from the regular Selenium software, you also have to use some sort of testing framework. So there's, if you're using Java, then you have JUnit framework. which can be integrated along with the IDE, which you would be using to write your Java code. And the IDE could be something called Eclipse, because the Java code could be written in Notepad as well, but it's not practical to write your code in Notepad. So you need some sort of IDE to write your code, and then that IDE could be Eclipse. Again, an open source. You're not paying any fee for that. Um, you could also be using another IDE tool, which is IDEA, IDEA. So there are many IDE environments where you could be writing your code. Now, for testing purpose, if we're using Eclipse, then Eclipse can be using JUnit or TestNJ as the framework where you could integrate those frameworks into Eclipse and then write your code, which would go and talk to Selenium and then basically would help you test your applications. All right, to give you an idea of how to use all of these, let's begin. The first and the foremost is you have to have Java installed on your machine. How do you check if Java is installed on your machine? You could go to your program files, and in your program files, you should have a folder called Java. If you see that folder, that means that you're ready to go. Java is installed, so jar files from Java are already there on your machine. The next thing now is to have some IDE tool which can help you write your code, and that tool will be Eclipse. So you have to go and then you have to download Eclipse. What I have done on my machine is I have downloaded Eclipse, and here is my Eclipse. Basically, what Eclipse is, it is not going to get installed, meaning it's not writing anything into the registry. There's no executable here. It's just an application. When you download it, if you Google it, you could go to a site called eclipse.org, and then you could download from there. Just to give you an idea, we will navigate to that site, and then we're going to be seeing www.eclipse.org. Right here under the downloads, you have different versions of Eclipse. I would suggest that you download this. This is like a complete version. So Eclipse IDE for Java EE developers. Depending on what kind of machine you have, it's a 32-bit or a 64-bit. This is going to download a zip file, and that zip file you could go ahead and then you could unzip it into any one of the folders. And I happen to unzip that into a folder on my C drive called Selenium download. And what you get is this application, Eclipse. So I'm gonna double click on that, and it's not gonna install, it's just gonna run. So it would be starting Eclipse on my machine. Okay, the first thing which comes up is something called a workspace launcher. What is a workspace launcher? Workspace launcher is nothing but it is a designated area on your hard drive where you could be saving your code. So I happen to choose C drive, and I created a folder called Workspaces, and I want to store all my code in that area. You are welcome to go and then create wherever you want to and whatever folder you want to name it as. The bottom line here is it's going to save your code into that folder. Okay, it's going to load my IDE, and basically in my IDE, I'm going to go and then start some projects. So I'm going to go File and say New, and basically I am going to create what is called a project, a Java project. So you could either go this way, or you could right click on this and then start that Java project. So there are tons of wizards in here. So it is telling you, hey, which one do you want to go and then create a new project. Select that. So we're going to be selecting Java project. So here is my Java project. I'm going to hit next. It is asking me to name that project. So I'm going to call my project as demo, right? And go next. Here, it gives you the option of adding any libraries. If at all, if you need to add any libraries, you could be going and then adding any jar files, any libraries in here. Right now, by default, it already includes in it what is called the Java package or the Java library. The JREs or the jar files from Java are included in here. I don't need to do anything else, so I'm just gonna hit finish. Gonna give me an option of whether you want to run it into what is called a Java development or the or what is called a debug environment. I'm just gonna hit no to that, and what we're gonna be seeing is this is my Java project. Okay, in this any project, you have to go and you have to create a class in that project. So I'm going to right click on that project and I'm going to say new, and new what? I'm going to create a new class. Okay. Now the new class which we are going to create, it is going to tell me a few things about it. Hey, the folder is the demo folder, and in it, it had created a subfolder called source, and it will be writing everything into that, creating that class into that subfolder called src source, right? Okay, it asks me to give me the name of the class. Since it is going to be a simple class, I'm gonna call it, let's say, my income calculator. Okay. Now, do we need a method to start automatically? If you're coming from C++ background, if you're coming from C background, then you know that the public static void main is the very first method which will get executed when you run this class. So I'm going to select that, and I will say finish. That's going to give me an empty class here. So this is the empty class with one method in here. All right. Okay. Now, this environment, what you see here, this is Eclipse. This is Eclipse. Now, what we are going to do is using Java as the language, I am going to write a very small program, and that program, so far it has nothing to do with Selenium. What I'm trying to show you is I'm trying to connect the moving parts in here, because we did say that in order for you to use Selenium, you have to use Java code, and the Java code which we are going to write should be using some tool for us to write that code. So the tool which we are using here is the Eclipse. So Eclipse is the tool in where we will be writing the code in Java, right? And for now, the code is not gonna be doing anything with Selenium. Down the road in my upcoming videos, I'm going to be showing you about how to integrate, how to bring in Selenium into this. Before you bring in the Selenium, you have to use some testing framework, and so the other tools which are available to us would be TestNG as a framework, or JUnit as the framework. So we can begin with JUnit as the testing framework, and then once we get a little comfortable with that, then we will move on to something called TestNG. Okay, right now, to begin with, I'm going to be showing you the ABCs of how to write a Java code and how to execute it, how to run it. Okay, now when you're writing any program, basically you would be using some variables, right? First of all, let's talk about what this program is going to be doing. This program basically is going to calculate, let's say, the income I make per week, per month, per year, right? Um, it's not only just going to be my income, but it's going to be my family income, meaning that if I have my spouse working, then we will also take into consideration the spouse salary and then come up with what is going to be the total income together we make in a week, in a month, and in a year. All right. So to begin with, let's define some variables. So I will be using some data type called integer data type. And the variable which I would be using is, let's say, int my sal, right? And I will be assigning some figure to it, right? So let's go with 1,000. So imagine that $1,000 is the salary, my salary, and we'll make an assumption that that these things are per week. Right? Okay, by the way, if you need to comment something in Java, you would be using 2 forward slashes. That would comment per line. Okay, and every line needs to be terminated with a semicolon. Likewise in languages like C# as well. Okay, now the next variable which we would be declaring here is int my spouse salary. And let's be equal here. So she would be making $1,000 per week. Okay, now I want to find out together how much are we making together. I mean, that would be simple, right? So I have to declare another variable, int together we make equals. Now, I have to go int my sal plus int my spouse sal. I just noticed that there's a squiggly line in here. The squiggly line here is telling that I don't know what you are. So looking into here, I think I have typo there. So with that, this int my spouse sal pretty much should go away now. So that's basically, we are doing some math here. I'm adding this. I'm adding this to int my sal, and together it is going to go in here. Now we will just report or display like how much together we make. So to write it out, there's something called system dot out dot print line, and that would show together we make, right? And then I'm going to use a concatenation operator, and then I'm going to put this variable here, which is int together we make. Together we make. All right. And okay, so far so good. Looks fine to me. Let me just save this, right? This is going to save, and this is going to run that. If there are any compilation errors, they're going to pop up, and here is the error. It says error exists in the required project demo. Proceed. So I'm not going to proceed, and I'm going to figure out what the error is. The error here is it says when you hover your mouse on that, it says 7 quick fixes. Create local variable int my spouse. Alrighty. So that basically would show you a little bit tricks of we're not into debugging yet, but then it showed you that it did not compile, right? Okay, now it seems everything is all right. Now let's run it, and see what happens. And if you see here in the bottom, there are some tabs here. One of the tab here is the console. And what console does is it spits out whatever we ask to print, it is going to be printed here. And if you see, together we make 2000. And that's the case. I'm going to put a little space in here so that we could see that together we make 2000. Okay, basic simple example where I'm showing you how to declare variables, how to do some assignments, and how to do concatenation operator, how to print it out into your console. If we need to extend this, we could just go and say that how are we going to calculate the monthly income? All right. Basically, what I'm going to do is if I need to print out my monthly income, what do? I do SYS, and there's a shortcut here. If I do an SYSO and Control and Spacebar, it writes the line for me. And let's say here I'm going to say weekly we make, right? And here, of course, the concatenation operator. And I want to do this. I want to multiply int together we make times 4, and this is not weekly, this is monthly. And let's make believe that there are 4 weeks in a month. Okay, so I'm saying that this could be weekly together we make, and monthly we make. So whatever is the int together we make was, and I multiplied that by 4. Likewise, I'm going to do the same for rather than doing monthly, I could say yearly. And this I could multiply by 52. Okay, let's run it and see if it is fitting all 3 lines. Okay, here weekly together we make 2000, monthly we make 8000, and yearly we make not a bad number there, $104,000. Okay, so what this shows you is how we could be writing a very simple program in Eclipse. And I'm using the code here is the Java code. What we learned today is how to declare variables, how to assign some data to the variables, and then how to do a little math in here. Okay, basically in the Selenium code, what we're going to be doing is we will be using classes or we'll be using some ready-made code or the packages which were built by ThoughtWorks guys for Selenium. So I have to add that to my project if I have to use Selenium, right? Now, the way I could be adding something is I'm going to be right-clicking on that and then going into the properties. And once I go into the properties of the project, once I go into the properties of the project, here I could be going into Java build path, and in here I could be adding libraries. Now, if you see here, there's only one library here. The library here which we have is the Java library. If I need to add other libraries, I could be doing that by going into add library, and as you see here, there's a JUnit, right? So JUnit is a testing framework. So I could be going and adding a library from JUnit, and then once I add that, then I could be writing my code using or importing the packages which are there ready-made available from JUnit. Likewise, I could also be using I could also be adding what is called the jar files from my Selenium. depending on what WebDriver or what version of Selenium I would be using, whether it's a WebDriver or Selenium RC, I could be going and adding external jars into my project. And once I add that, then I would be able to use that code and then, basically use those classes, ready-made classes, and write my own code. What kind of code do you think you would be writing using Selenium? Basically, you want to go and open a particular browser. So again, the language of your choice would be Java, would be C#, would be Perl, Python. So using that language, you would be using the ready-made classes or the libraries which are given to you from the jar files. You would be importing them, and then you would be writing the code. First of all, you would be saying, I want to use a browser like Internet Explorer browser or Chrome browser, and then I want to go to a particular application, and I am going to test whatever you need to test. So bottom line is, you have to go and you have to write what is called some test cases. I'm gonna in my future videos, I'm gonna be showing you how to write those test cases. But a quick overview of that would be right here. I have created a skeleton code here. This skeleton code is basically using the JUnit framework. Using the JUnit framework, I could be writing my test cases. So here is my first test case which I've written. Now in this test case, this is about login test. So I want to go and execute this login test. So what is this login test is going to have? It will have in it the Selenium code, right? The Selenium code for that would be, okay, you are testing the login for what site. So you have to put in that code in here that I'm going to be going to a particular site, a particular page, and then entering some data into it. The data which you would be entering would be your username and password. Now, you do not want to hard code that data into your test case. So basically what would happen is you have to create a framework. The framework is your data would be residing in an external sheet, like an Excel sheet, spreadsheet, or it could be coming from your database, or it could be coming from an XML data document. So we will be creating a structured framework where we will be creating our tests in here. The test would be getting its data, the parameterization of the data, meaning the data would be passed into this test from an external sheet, and the text would be executing using this JUnit framework. And as you can see, there are some annotations here. There's something called before, and then there's something called test and at after. Basically, it's the JUnit framework supports by providing you the annotation, it supports you as a tester to write clean code, the code which can be maintained, which can be reused, and of course, depending on what kind of code you write, it has to be accurate as well. So down the road in our future videos, I will be sharing with you how to write the code using JUnit framework and using Selenium to test a web application using different browsers. So to summarize, basically what we have seen here is Selenium is an open source automated testing tool. It comes in different versions. There is Selenium IDE, there is Selenium RC, remote control, and then there is Selenium WebDriver. WebDriver happens to be the latest one. Okay, the flip side or the limitations of IDE is it can only be used with a Firefox browser. It cannot be used with the other browsers. So if you want to use test your application in different browsers, then either you have to go with RC or you have to go with WebDriver. RC and WebDriver, even though both of them, they do the same job, which is to test applications, but they're like two different animals, meaning the classes are different, the coding is different. So either you could go with RC or you could go with WebDriver. RC happens to be a little popular in the industry only because it's been around for a little while, but slowly WebDriver is catching up. So in our future presentations, I will be showing you both how to test applications using RC as well as WebDriver. If you like what you see here, and if you would like to know a little more about us, please feel free to go and take a look into our site, which is TrainingRite.com. And TrainingRite shows you the different packages we have, or the different courses we have. We have what is called ASP.NET Websites building. You could be learning C#, SQL Server for in about 6 weeks, and this is a rotator, so that should give you a different course. So in QA, we will be doing Quality Center, which is a repository tool, version control. It's a storage. You would be storing all your test cases and data into QC, and from there you could integrate into QTP. QTP is the competition of Selenium. QTP is an HP tool, automated software testing tool. It uses only one scripting language, which is a VB script. It's worth taking a look at. So we have that course as well. If you want to do a complete course, we have QC, QTP, and Selenium as well. Now, if you're interested in doing a .NET development, then we have these short courses for 2 weeks each. If you're interested in doing, let's say, SharePoint, this is the SharePoint development training, where we'll be talking about how to build SharePoint, how to create out of the box. SharePoint can do so much, but for you to make it work, you have to go and you have to customize it, and the customization is basically about creating different content types, different web parts, event receivers, workflows. You could be doing custom branding, meaning totally changing the way that site looks. And we do all that as a part of our development training. If this catches your interest, then please do give us a call, 732-998-6650. And stay tuned. We will be coming up with a lot more videos in near future. Thank you.